introduce, she smiles because she's so modest, but I want to say something about Reverend Betty Tatalajski here. Because we're going to talk about a subject that is considered strange by most people. It's as if during the Middle Ages somebody said, well, today we're going to consider that in fact the earth is round. And you would have lost everybody there. And we're also going to talk about the fact that the heavens don't revolve around the earth, it revolves around the sun. And if you really said that, you'd probably be strung up and burned at the stake. All right? But we haven't moved a lot in terms of our openness, because what we're going to talk about today is a subject that when it comes up in polite conversation, people go as stone cold adamant against it as they did during the Middle Ages if the subject that the earth was round had been raised. And we're going to talk about today UFOs.
UFOs. First of all, friends, I will admit to you, that means unidentified flying objects, and in my world there are none, because I know exactly who they are.
That's right, they're just flying objects.
So I know who they are, they're people. Because, first of all, everything is energy. And energy is spirit. There's no difference. It's a different name. Scientists call it energy, and other people are so inclined call it spirit.
Consciousness, yeah.
Consciousness. So there's no difference there. And then we remember what the beloved Jesus says, as a man thinks it is. He was teaching us metaphysics right off. We didn't get it. We wanted to create religions rather than unity, I do believe. It was very important for us to be different, you know. I just remember what the one man said, you know, well, you know, I'm your follower, and how will people know that? You know, how will they know, because I look like everybody else, you know, and I look like the Jews, but how will they know I'm your follower? He says, well, love one another. By that, people will know that you are my disciple if you have love for one another. So he didn't say, well, let's call this. He never said this is Christianity. He never said it was anything. He just said, love one another and peace be still. So anyway, it is really time. Again, we just call on this Aquarian energy, you know. Pisces was interesting, as Aries was before it. You remember 4,000 years ago, it was the age of Aries, a tooth for a tooth, you know, and all of that. An eye for an eye, probably.
Or a jaw for a tooth.
But, you know, and then we, after 2,000 years of Aries, you know, we had 2,000 years of Pisces. And so it's a real hard sell to get people, you know, to pry themselves away, their minds away from Pisces. And, you know, and again, the beautiful teacher who came here as a way shower, as a demonstration. He says, my life is a demonstration. And what I do, all men can do, and what I am, all people will be. So we tend to forget the words that he spoke to us. I don't think
Betty,
they were trite remarks.
No. In fact, not only were they not trite, not only do we not remember the words that even greater things than I shall do, ye shall do also, and that ye are gods, not only have we not remembered those words, we remember words he never spoke.
That's
like we're guilty.
Unfortunately, that's the truth.
We're just, blasphemous. We're terrible. And he never said that.
Yeah, the ones
he
that
said
he
exactly
didn't say.
the opposite.
Right.
You know, and not only didn't it stick, we just went the other way.
No, ye are gods, he said.
Yeah.
And the kingdom of heaven is within you. It's amazing, because I don't remember in the Baptist church or any people saying that, you know, right. Because they were so busy passing the plate and saying you're guilty, but and you're going to hell. That's the things actually that I kind of mostly remember, you know, especially, and I whine about it all the time. Enough, Betty. You know, I've whined about the movies for so many years, you know, because I love movies, you know, and and Daddy let us go on Saturday, and me and my, you know, there are 9 of us, and so sometimes we got to go on Sunday, and then next Sunday, preacher said we're going to hell because we went on Sunday, you know, and then I have this friend, you know, who who in her Nazarene church, you know, had to wear ankle length. She was a hippie before, you know.
She had long skirts.
She had long skirts.
Yeah.
And then another one went to another church and she couldn't wear lipstick. I said, that's enough already. Definitely would not participate in that one, you know. They take my lipstick. I remember on this 120 country tour that I was on, you know, peace tour, and got to one country and they had just, you know, getting really rigid about what you can take on, you know. Okay, you can have the water, you can do this and that, but they took my makeup kit.
Wow.
Because they're trying to fulfill what America said do.
Yeah.
They had, in Portugal, we got there in the morning and they had a new thing from America and it says what all they had to do. So they said, we have to have your makeup kit. I said, honey, you haven't seen any terrorists yet. Until you start taking makeup kits and lipstick from these ministers, women ministers, you know. Anyway, you know how it is. People just make up stuff, and
Yeah.
the government was just... I know this is not what I'm supposed to be talking about, but one of the occasions, you know, that I had in Chicago, I'm trying to get home. It's just shortly after the incident, and there were 10 men, all in suits, for this to go through.
Oh, the airport security?
Yeah, you know, they didn't have the big fancy things that'll kill you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, the imaging machines.
Yeah, that imaging machine that is not good for my blood, you know. But they had barrels there in front of them, and when you went through, they looked at you and what can they throw in there.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's amazing what they were throwing in there out of your purse. And one of them, the woman in front of me had an eyebrow curler. Well, the man had a fit over it. I'm telling you, their wives must not used an eyelash curler because they said...
They won't go.
Well, I'm telling you, I had to get out of line. I had because I was laughing so hard. And you can't do that.
That's right.
And I thought, and I could just picture this woman going up there and curling the captain's eyelashes, you know.
Threatening him.
Threatening him by curling his eyelashes.
That's right.
But anyway, enough of that. It's time for us to look to the stars, isn't it? Look in the sky and know that we came from the stars. Isn't that incredible? We came from the stars.
Not just Mary Poppins.
Not just Mary Poppins. So I just took this pen, little pen here. There are 3 stars. It's 1 star, but it looks like 3, okay? Now, please expand your mind before I make this next statement, okay? The reason I wear this on my temple mantle, you probably never noticed, but it's precious to me, okay? Because when I walked into that spiritualist church 33 years ago and found out that, sort of like Columbus, that the world was round, I also found out that you couldn't see a lot of people that are around you. Especially the ones in the sky. Now, who knew? Did anybody ever tell you that stars are real people?
They're conscious entities.
They're conscious entities, but when you see them in their uniforms and in their clothing, they're not just entities, they're people. Okay? Now, when they come in and talk to you, they may be entities, but when they stand there and have their picture taken, they're people, okay? So, I started in that little spiritualist church in Wonderland. walked through over the threshold and fell into Wonderland. And at the same time, I don't think I mentioned this to you, when I would walk out my door, I would see there would be 3 stars just going over the little tree outside, or the big tree over here, or the house next door, but they were always 3 stars. Well, I wasn't too perplexed because I had no frame of reference. I just thought, well, that's interesting, you know, because we see stars, what, about this big?
Yeah.
And they have a light around them if they're close up. So these 3 would shoot over my house. And one of my friends said one day, why do those stars shoot over your house? Who, what is, of course she didn't say who. Wonder what that is. As a matter of fact, when she left here and called me 10 years later, she said, did you ever find out what those stars, why those stars shot over your house? Where you could see them over the trees where you live? I said, well, as a matter of fact, I did.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, they founded the Temple of Universality. And I know who they are. Who knew? You know, and then I went to Camp Chesterfield, and Lord Sananda, who was one of the 3, the Commander-in-Chief of the Intergalactic Confederation of the Ashtar Command, said, well, and see, he was going by the name Shooting Star. So Shooting Star was the first spirit entity, sorry about that, that I met. And so I thought he was an Indian because people I knew had Indian guides, you know. And Spirit hadn't told me that I had 3 Indians standing behind me. The one right here is Katonka, Chief Yellow Moon and Chief Silver Moon. They didn't tell me that. So they just told me I've got Shooting Star.
I have to cut. I want to give some background on Reverend Betty Tatalajski here. What happened was in 1979, she was supposed to write an article on a spiritualist church here in Tucson. And she didn't believe any of this
I
stuff.
didn't know what spiritualist was.
Yeah, she'd raised in Kentucky, Southern Baptist, became a Marine. One of the Marines. I mean, Betty, it's almost more difficult to believe that you were a Marine than you talk to the stars. Okay?
Semper Fi.
Semper Fi. That's absolutely it. All right. So, and then she became a Catholic and was living in the foothills here in Tucson and was supposed to go and write a little article on these spiritualist people who Betty thought were a little weird. But you know, so
I didn't believe it, first of all.
Yeah, you didn't believe it at all.
I didn't believe it when I met him.
Yes, and there was a little. She didn't know that Tucson was a hotbed of spiritualist activity.
There were 4 churches, 4 spiritualist churches here.
At the time, she walks
never
in.
heard of it.
She walks in there, and Betty said it changed her. Well, it did change her life. We wouldn't be here unless it happened to you.
Well, it changed like that.
Like that.
Like that. The magic moment when I fell into Wonderland and refused to leave. And that's what amazes me about folks who have this experience of, you know, born again, I would say,
Yeah.
you know, and some loving reality.
Betty
And then
lived.
go back.
Yeah, Betty lived in the foothills. Swimming pool, house, kids, all right? And after this happened to her, it was so big. The break with reality was so big. At one point, you were driving and you said, I'm not going home. And you never did.
That's true.
I mean, this is here in Tucson. She was going there, she was driving, and it was such a big break. She decided, I am never going home.
It had never occurred to me before. I'm just shopping there at Levy's, you know, and oh, I'm not going home today. I'm never going home. I never even took my toothbrush.
She never went back.
I could not. I could not. That was, I was in Wonderland now, and I didn't need that toothbrush. I could go buy a new one, you know.
And what happened was that this happened to her in 1979. She's at the spiritual church. She is told by Reverend Bob Ireland, who channeled Dr. Carlos Blair, that she was going to take her group the Course in Miracles group that she'd been teaching, and she was going to supposed to go to a place called Camp Chesterfield, which is a spiritualist camp back in Indiana. Okay, and so she did. I mean, Betty did. and so she takes these people back there, and she's in, and Camp Chesterfield is where they had trance, they had spoke with spirits. I mean, all that what you call Wonderland.
Well, the greatest spiritualist phenomena place, not anymore. That stopped over 5 years ago, but for 125 years.
And you were there in its heyday. They were still going on.
Its heyday.
So you take these people back, these group of people back there, and you, because I want to set this thing up, all right?
Yeah, right.
So you've taken this group of people. This is your first time back there, all right? You're just new to this world, all right?
Absolutely.
And you sit in this circle, and I want you to tell the camera what they told you.
Okay, first of all, I'll go back into I was sitting in a little room, a dark room by myself with a levitated trumpet.
Okay.
Okay.
And the trumpet, folks, it's an aluminum tube. And it's for it's
looks like a megaphone.
And it's for spirit to speak through, so you can hear it.
So it levitates.
That levitates. Phenomena mediums in their presence can levitate these and talk with spirit. I mean, to me, it's like they're PBX operators. They're talking to the other side. You're new to this. You're there, and you're there in this darkened room. Okay.
And so they said to me, "You're going to be ordained." And I'm just like freedom, you know, in my little spiritualist church.
You got away from
I got away from
organized religion.
So I didn't sleep that night, and so all I could think was they had the wrong person. It was a pitch dark room, so spirit didn't know who they were talking to.
That's right.
So the next day I had another one, and they said, "Well, you know, you kind of upset. We know you're kind of upset about it. You're telling you we're going to be ordained, but don't worry about it. It'll be 10 years from now." It was exactly 10 years, December the 12th, 10 years later. But don't think about it, Betty, because you worry about what religion it'd be, and don't worry about that because you're going to create a new religion. I thought, well, first of all, you know, I don't know who you think is sitting here in this dark room, but you obviously don't know who I am. Oh, don't worry about it. They said you're going to teach all religion. You're going to create a new religion, and it's called Universalism, Universality. They said, so we want you to study the great philosophers, Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle, because they were the great universalists, they said. And now we want you to study all religions, all cultures, and you'll do that by traveling and teaching.
Now, this was 1979, all right? I want you to tell the camera or the people out there how many countries you've gone to.
Well, about 140.
All right. And how many times have you gone to the Middle East?
27th. I just got back the 27th time.
All right. And just like on the dime when they told you, you were ordained 10 years.
To the day.
To the day. All right? And that's why, folks, when I say the Temple of Universality is different, I mean it. And when I ran into you, Betty, I mean, and you started telling me these things, I tell you, I had the same response I did after I read Autobiography of Yogi by Yogananda. It was 1970. I read this book about this Hindu yogi. He told me these things.
Wasn't it wonderful?
Oh, it was wonderful. But it was so out of my frame of reference, I had a choice. This guy was either lying or it was true. And that's how my experience with you was, Betty.
Well, I thought you believed every word I said when I met you.
I do now. That's the difference.
Well, that's only because you experience more than I do.
I've experienced.
And you've got your own trumpet.
Yes, I've experienced this stuff too.
So anyway, friends, these are our three teachers. They're three Kumaras.
The ones who were the shooting stars over your house.
The shooting star.
Yes.
And the one that was called Shooting Star, and I have a picture of him as a shooting star, as an Indian with the light on his head. So it took a while before he told me. He says, I am Sananda. And then Spirit said, yes, the Commander-in-Chief of the Intergalactic Confederation of the Ashtar Command. And these Kumaras, there are three. One, Sananda, is in charge of all religion. There's one who's in charge of all government that I've met. The third one, I have never been told what his duties are, but whatever fits in there, I guess he is. If you would like to know about these men, about these teachers, about these incredible people, it's on page 89 of The Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky, written in 1881. So, if you would like some light reading,
Deep Russian metaphysics.
in a light reading in a heavy book, here it is, right here. And this is true theosophy. So what I'm telling you is utterly true, and they're good friends. So when you go out and look at the stars, do remember that they are live, and they've been alive for a long time. I want to see if I can get this in, because I really wanted to talk about my friend, a star.
Okay, yes.
So we're at camp. We have the pictures on silk. Some of you have seen them. We'll bring them next time, okay?
Yeah.
I'll bring picture of star. So I get this picture, paint silk, and it's got this face on it. I thought it was Hercules because it's all this hair.
Curly, yeah.
So I was sitting there in a dark room, talking through the trumpet to the doctor who's standing right over here, Dr. Butler, okay? And I said, Dr. He's got any more questions? Yeah. I want to know who this picture is. Who's this picture on a...
That you got in your
looks
silk.
like Hercules.
Yeah.
And he says, well, it's a little girl. And I said, well, it doesn't look like a little girl.
Yeah.
And he said, well, just a minute. I shook him over here. Next thing
Through
I
the
know,
trumpet, you're talking to her.
yes.
In the darkened room.
Yeah,
Okay.
so he says, oh, and she says, well, I said, what's your name? She said, a little girl talking like a little girl. My name is Star. I said, oh, well, you got a lot of hair. You look, I just
what else are you
said
going to
look like
say?
Hercules,
You just have this picture to go on.
So anyway, she says, well, I wanted you to see that I'm powerful, and that I really can work for you. And she says, but I'm a star. And I said, well, where do you shine? Where are you in the sky? I want to see. I want to see you.
Yeah.
She says, you wouldn't see me. She says, I'm not a third-dimensional star. I don't shine in your world, but I shine in many worlds, but not a third-dimensional one. I thought, the astronomers are going to love this. And so I dedicated, I'm going to do a whole show for the astronomers, like the ones who came in on Friday night one night and said, we're studying astrology.
On the other side.
And Carl Sagan was among them. And I had read one of his books where he was denouncing astrology. So, Jan Robertson's husband was one of those few astrologers, because...
Astronomers. Yeah.
Astronomers.
Yeah.
And Tucson was really a center for that limited
limited consciousness.
Astronomy,
That's
okay?
right.
So there were only like 4 of them here. And so when one of them made transition, he came in on Friday night and said, you know what? We're
studying it now.
Astrology. And Carl Sagan's in our class.
11 o'clock, Sunday morning, the Temple of Universality, the corner of Prince and Country Club. Reverend Betty Tatalajski and the crew, we welcome you if you're ready.